Okay, for the coding part of the software engineering project, it asks us to create our sprite that changes when we move directions. This is the first thing that we're going to do. So we're going to start Gamemaker. Gamemaker might take a while to start. You might get an error message at the beginning. Just click OK and then click don't upgrade now. So first of all, we need to load the sprite that we've created. So the first thing I'm going to do is click Resources, Create Sprite. I'm going to call this Hero Left. I'm going to load the sprite, and I'm going to look inside my folder, Computer, Primary, look down for the secondary shortcut, secondary, first baturator, and find your folder in there, and then find the folder what you've saved your sprites in. So if I want to have a look, if I've not named them correctly, I can click on this icon here, which will give me a larger view of the icons I want. So if I'm creating the first one, which is Hero Left, I'm going to click on Hero Left here. Now the sprite is going to be far too big for the game, so I'm going to edit the sprite, transform it, and then stretch it, and I'm going to stretch it down to 10%. Click OK, and now my sprites are big. That is big enough for my game. I click the little tick to save changes, and then click OK again. Now I've got my hero left. Next, Resources, Create Sprite. I'm going to call this one Hero Right. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did before. Load Sprite. This time it's already remembered the folder that I've got them in. Click Pep Right, which is my hero, transform, stretch, and I'm going to resize it the same size I have the other ones previously. Click the tick, and in here I should have another tick to save it. Resources, Create Sprite, and this one I'm going to call this Hero Up. Load Sprite, and if the sprite's going up the screen, you're going to see the back of him, so I'm going to select Pep Back. I'm going to edit the sprite again, transform, and then stretch it to 10 and click OK. I'm going to click the tick and then click OK again. Last thing, Resources, Create Sprite. This time I'm going to call this Hero Down, and this is when the hero is coming down the screen. I'm going to load the sprite, find the version from the front, edit the sprite, transform, and then stretch. I'm going to stretch this to 10 and click OK. Click on the little tick and click OK again. So I've got all of the different views from my sprite. Now I'm going to create the object. Resources, Create Object, and this is just going to be called Hero. Hero. And the default sprite I'm going to give him is Hero Down, which is from the front. Make sure you select Solid. Okay. Right, this is when we start to do the programming. So I'm going to click Add Event, key press left. What I want it to do is I want it to move left and give it a speed. So I'm going to give it a speed of 5. Okay. But once I've done that, if I take my finger off, then the hero is still going to keep moving in the left direction. So I'm going to add another event, key release left, and I'm going to change the speed, the direction to none, and the speed of 0. So when you take your finger off the left mouse button, it isn't going to move. But also, if I click back onto this one, even though it doesn't look like it's changing here, it actually is. So on the left one, what I wanted to do is I wanted to change the sprite. So on the second tab down, we've got the change sprite icon. So I'm going to change the sprite, and this one, it loads the sprites that you've already got in to Hero Left and click OK. On the left one, I'm going to change the sprite. As soon as it stops moving, I'm going to change it to the Hero Down. Okay, and then with all of these, I don't have to keep programming them all the time. I can right click and duplicate event. So key press right. Okay, So instead of moving left, I change it from left to right, and instead of hero left, I change it to hero right. And this one, release, right click, I can duplicate that as well. Key press, or key release, sorry, right, and then it's going to stop moving direction, and it's going to change it to hero down, which is exactly what we want. So instead of you having to programming it all over again, you can just simply right click, duplicate event. This one is going to be key press up. I'm going to start moving the direction. I'm going to change that to up, and I'm going to change the sprite to back, or up, sorry. And then the last one, right click, duplicate event, key press down, change the direction to down, and change the sprite to down. Okay, I have to put 2 releases on here now, so I'm going to right click on that one, duplicate event, key release up, and that's it. I don't have to change anything because it's still stopped and it's still going down. So right click, duplicate event, key release down, and I don't have to touch it. Click OK. So I'm going to test it now. So I'm going to create a room. So resources, create room. You can at this stage, if you want, you can call this your level 1. Level 1. And if you want, your level 1 farm or the field or the tree. Level 1 farm. Now objects, the only object I have is the hero. So I'm just going to put the hero in the middle. And then before I run it, in case there's any bugs in the system where I have to edit it, I'm going to save it. So when I click on save, it's going to ask me where I want to save it to. Click on the computer, click on primary, click on secondary shortcut, find your folder in First Bachillerato. There's mine there, Pep Guardiola. Because I've practiced this 2 or 3 times, I'm going to call this the Pep game. Pep game, and then save. And at the top there, you'll see it's changed to Pep game. To test it, I click on the green run button. And now my sprite, Pepper the Guardiola, should move up, down, left, right, and then stop when I take my finger off the buttons. So here we go. Left, he changes left, and then when I take my finger off, he changes the view back to the front. Right, moves right, down, and up. Okay, so all's working fine. So I've got my sprite to move around the screen. The only thing, I have to put a wall around the outside. If not, when I go outside of the screen, it will disappear, but we can do that later on. Okay, so I'm going to click on resources, create background. I'm going to call it the farm, and I'm going to load the background. And there's my level 1 background, the farm, and I click OK. Now when I go back to my room, if I click on backgrounds now, I can click here and select the farm. Now you can see that it doesn't fit in the screen properly, so I can then click on stretch, which will stretch it to the size of my room. Now the 640 is a bit too small for the room, so I'm going to change that to 800 and then change the height to 600. Okay, so that's a little bit better when we create our game. So I click on the little tick, and then that's my first part of programming finished.